approximately 3, 2, 1, but wait.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi ashabi ajma'in. Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Dr. Mohd Kamal Hassan, Honorary Advisor, Center of Islamization at IUM, Professor Dr. Shukran bin Abdul Rahman, Dean of Kuliyyah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences, KIRKHS, Associate Professor Dr. Haslina Ibrahim, Deputy Dean of Responsible Research and Innovation, KIRKHS, Associate Professor Datin Dr. Aini Masnina Abdul Manaf, Deputy Dean of Academic and Internalization, KIRKHS, Assistant Professor Dr. Muhammad Noor bin Abdul Jalil, Deputy Dean, Student Development and Community Engagement, KIRKHS, Madam Haslina binti Shamsuddin, Senior Deputy Director, KIRKHS, Head of Departments, Academic Members, Department Representatives, Administrative Staff, Students of IUM, and all viewers. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Amirah Yasmin binti Muhammad Azmir, Honorary Treasurer of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences Student Society, IRKHSSS, and also your Master of Ceremony for today's lecture. Welcome everyone to the Grand Intellectual Symposium. Just a little housekeeping announcement. We will be having a question and answer session by the end of this lecture. If you have any concern or query, kindly submit them in the comment section. Before we begin our event for today, let us seek blessing from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala with dua recitation. With that, I invite Brother Fakhruddin Razak, Vice President 2 of IRKHSSS, to lead the dua recitation. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Allahumma ighfir lana dhunubana wa li ikhwanina allazina sabaquna bil iman wa la taj'al fi qulubina ghillan lil ladzina amanu rabbana innaka ra'ufur rahim. Ya Allah, ya Rahman, ya Rahim. We gather today to express gratitude upon your greatest gift towards us. In conjunction with this event, we ask for your help and guidance. Ya Allah, Ya Alim, kindly give us strength and courage to face the struggle to find and gain knowledge. Kindly bestow blessings and physical and spiritual health, fitness of mind, peace of mind, strength of spirits. Ya Allah, give strength to our lecturers and our leaders to continue to serve for people, society, national, and religion. Ya Zal Jalali wal Ikram. Ya Allah, make our country a country who got the blessing and favor, everlasting peace and prosperity of all time. Allahumma inna a'udzubika minal baras wal junun wal juzam wa min sa'il asqam. Allahumma ja'al jam'ana hadha jam'an marhuma wa tafarruqana min ba'dihi tafarruqa ma'suma. ولا تجعل لهما فينا ولا معنا ولا من يتبعنا شقيا ولا مطرودا ولا محروما ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you very much, Brother Fakhruddin, for the beautiful dua recitation. Before we indulge in today's rich sharing, allow me to introduce our speaker for today. Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Dr. Mohd Kamal Hassan was born in Pasir Mas, Kelantan in 1942. Then, he attended an English school, Sultan Ismail School in Kota Baru. He had his first degree in Islamic Studies from University Malaya in 1965. Later, he He received his second and third masters as well as PhD from Columbia University, New York. He became the head of Department of Usuluddin and Philosophy at UKM in 1979 and was given his professorship there. In 1983, he began his career at International Islamic University, Malaysia, IUM, as Sheikh Al-Kuliyyah. He was the first Dean of Kuliyyah of Islamic River Knowledge and Human Sciences, KIRKHS, IUM, in 1990 and became Director of IUM from 1999 to 2006. He was awarded Distinguished Professor or Professor Ulung by Ministry of Higher Education in 2010 and Professor Emeritus from IIUM. Along with us today is our moderator for the Grand Intellectual Symposium, Brother Anas Hayyan bin Ahmad Zakwan. Brother Anas is the current president of IRKHSSS, and he is from the Department of Political Sciences. The session today aims to understand and listen more from Prof. Mohd Kamal Hassan as the founder and the first Dean of the Kuliyyah on the essence on bringing human sciences and Islamic river knowledge under one roof. And the objective of the discussion would be, firstly, to promote the integration between Islamic river knowledge and human sciences to KIRKHS community. Next, to understand the importance in synergizing Islamic river knowledge and human sciences. And last but never the least, to provide knowledge and insight on the role of the students of KIRKHS in realizing the vision and mission of establishment of KIRKHS. This Grand Intellectual Symposium is also brought to you by Aunillah Group, the sponsor for today's Zoom Premium platform, and IIM Today as our official media partner. Before we begin the long-awaited lecture by our distinguished speaker, we would like to invite Prof. Shukran to give his opening remarks. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Sister Yasmin. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amin. Yang berbahagia, our beloved Professor Emeritus, Professor Mohd Kamal Hassan, the former rector or the third IUM rector, who is also the honorary advisor to the Center of Islamization, come many other roles that he is currently holding. Deputy Deans, Senior Deputy Director, President of IRKHSS and his team members, academic members, student brothers and sisters, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very pleasant morning to all of you. I would like to first of all thank Professor Mohd Kamal Hassan for his willingness, readiness, and commitment to be with us this morning. Okay, thank you, Prof. Secondly, I would like to congratulate my sons and daughters, the IRKHS Student Society, for coming up with this important event, a remarkable gathering for all of you to learn from our great scholar, Professor Mohd Kamal Hassan. So indeed, this is an important sitting that you're all having, because from this sitting, we can renew our aspiration, we can renew our commitment, our intention in our knowledge-seeking journey. A bit of my experience as a student of Professor Mohd Kamal Hassan. I know him the first time before I joined the university, right? But when I joined the Matriculation Center back in 1989, we first listened to Professor Mohd Kamal Hassan and we changed our mindset. But before we joined the university, most of our aspiration were at the personal level, individual aspiration. But listening to professors, IUM leaders then, including Professor Kamal, has made us change our mindset from individual aspiration to societal or social aspiration. We in IUM have been exposed to the idea that after we graduate from this university, we have got a great roles to play in the society. We have been trained, or we were then being trained to become agent of change, agent of development, agents of improvement to the society, either in Malaysia or abroad, because we have also students from international community. So education in IUM focus on intellectual development, and that intellectual development is not only for personal use or personal benefit, but it is for societal or social benefit. Right? So that this intellectual development, social awareness are combined, okay, through the education process. The tarbiyah process that we obtain from IUM is very important. Very important because we need to produce a new breed of workforce, new breed of citizen to the world. Right? So the tarbiyah process in IUM has been successfully conducted not only through the formal education processes that we receive in classroom, but also from the environment, from the BR itself. So when I say BR, we learn from people, learned scholars who are not teaching us as well. Like I myself didn't have any class with Professor Mohd Kamal Hassan, but we learn from him outside classes through seminar, workshop, usra, things like those, right? So even until now, we are still learning from Professor Mohd Kamal Hassan. Some very important point that we learned a few months ago was the need to continuously working hard to connect between fundamentals, which are found in Islamic studies, with knowledge about human, knowledge about society. Professor Kamal stressed to us the importance of holding strong to the thawabit or constant, and at the same time, scanning the environment whereby we will be informed of mutaghayirat or variables, and we need to bridge these two. Right? Alhamdulillah, we have people like Professor Mohd Kamal Hassan who are going to show us the way on how to bridge, discipline of knowledge with its or with their fundamentals, right? So good to see all of you students to learn from Professor Kamal. Inshallah, this is a reason for you to be identified as murid to him as well. Right, Professor Kamal, thank you very much for your continuous support to all of us, for your continuous effort in educating us as well. Personally, I myself learned a lot from you on campus and outside campus as well. I am fortunate, I mean, a personal note, I'm fortunate because I've learned from you, Prof, through my observation as well. I've observed how you interact with people in Malaysia and overseas. I've had the opportunity of traveling with Professor Mohd Kamal Hassan 6 times abroad. Right, I have seen how people regard him and how Professor Kamal communicated with people of various backgrounds, Muslim, non-Muslims, black, white, and of many colors as well. Alhamdulillah. So thank you so much for the education that you have provided to all of us. And that is important for me to now position myself in educating the rest of your students as well, Prof. Kamal. So thank you very much, all of you. We hope we can learn from Professor Mohd Kamal again after this session. We will call Professor Mohd Kamal Hassan from time to time. At the same time, we will also join Professor Kamal in his frequent lectures that he conducts from his library, inshallah. So thank you very much, Yasmin. Over back to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Shukran, for your beautiful speech. I believe Professor Shukran did a better job than me in introducing our speaker today, Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Dr. Mohd Kamal Hassan. So without further delay, I pass the floor to Brother Anas Hayyan to moderate the session. The floor is yours, Anas. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Sister Amirah Yasmin, our MC for today's event. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Dr. Mohd Kamal Hassan, the Honorary Advisor of Center of Islamization, IUM, Professor Dr. Shukran bin Abdul Rahman, the Dean of Kuliyyah of Islamic Knowledge and Human Sciences, Deputy Deans of KIRKHS, Senior Deputy Director, Head of Departments, academic members, administrative staffs, students of IUM, students of KIRKHS, and all of our viewers, thank you again for being here this morning. Inshallah, professors, doctors, brothers and sisters, first of all, I would like to express my heartiest and deepest gratitude and appreciation on behalf of IRKHS Student Society to Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Dr. Mohd Kamal Hassan for gracing our event this morning. I would like to recall when we were given the responsibility as the student representative at the Kuliyyah level to represent the KIRKHS last December, we have set our conscience and we have set our determination pure and clear that we will be determined and we will be steadfast in upholding our role as the student society of the Kuliyyah with a rich history and philosophy. And when we mention about the establishment of KIRKHS, we would usually hear unique stories on the establishment of the Kuliyyah. I have heard stories, especially from Prof. Kamal Hassan himself, on that the planning to establish KIRKHS was not even in the planning during the establishment of RIUM. But eventually, what we can see right now, it is the biggest Kuliyyah with 11 departments, 6,000 undergraduate and postgraduate students, and I would say it is the icon of IUM itself nowadays, alhamdulillah. Now, moving forward, we would see that up until today, we seldom see a Kuliyyah or a faculty that embodies and gathers both Islamic relevant knowledge and human sciences under one roof. I would ask a lot of my friends from other universities, they would have a faculty for human sciences, humanities, and another faculties for Islamic studies. But as we gather both of these disciplines under one roof, and it is such a unique culture and history that we believe that the students of KIRKHS should be enlightened on what are the role that us as the student of KIRKHS or us as the KIRKHS community can play in upholding the ethos of the synergization or the integration of social sciences, humanities, and Islamic studies, which have been set by our speaker, Professor Dr. Kamal Hassan, since 30 years ago. The Kuliyyah was established in 1990, and after 31 years, alhamdulillah, I would say that the Kuliyyah is definitely still flourishing under the leadership of Professor Dr. Shukran and all of the deanery members and all of the community of KIRKHS. And inshallah, today the session will be aiming to understand and to listen more from Professor Dr. Kamal Hassan as the founder and the first dean of the Kuliyyah on the essence or the philosophy of bringing human sciences and Islamic relevant knowledge under one roof. And I believe that Sister Amirah Yasmin had mentioned the objective of the discussion. And on the behalf of the students of KIRKHS, Prof, we will be attentively listening to the lecture by you. And I hope all of us will be benefited and will be inspired to continue striving to be a diligent student of KIRKHS. And that is where I believe the role of IRKHSSS to come to improve or to uphold intellectual activism in the campus in our Kuliyyah, not only to improve the well-being in terms of welfare, but it is also to improve intellectual capacity of our students in the Kuliyyah, inshallah. And to all of our viewers, be it on Facebook or Zoom, there will be a Q&A session after the lecture by Professor Dr. Mohd Kamal Hassan. You may write your comments at the comment section, and inshallah we will ask the questions to Professor Dr. Kamal Hassan during the Q&A session. With that being said, Prof, I would like to invite Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Dr. Mohd Kamal Hassan to the floor, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi alladhi hadana lihada wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawla an hadana Allah. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for it is by His grace and by His mercy that I'm able to be here this morning. My dear Professor Shukran Abdul Rahman, the Dean of the would-be Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman Kuliyyah of Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences, my colleague, Associate Professor Dr. Haslina Ibrahim, the other deputy deans, heads of departments and senior deputy director, my colleagues from the academic staff of IIUM and the Kuliyyah, and my grandchildren, the students of IIUM, because I consider Prof. Shukran as my son, and the students, therefore, are my grandchildren. Grandchildren, you are listening now to Atuk Kamal, talking about the past, the present, and maybe also the future, inshallah. I must thank the organizers, especially Brother Anas Hayyan bin Ahmad Zakwan, the president of the IRKHSSS, who has kindly invited me to give this talk at this Grand Intellectual Symposium. I'm very honored indeed to be invited by the students, and I am very happy that the students have taken this initiative. If it were to come from the dean, this would be something quite normal and natural, but to be invited by the students, that is something that I really appreciate. So thank you very much, Brother Anas, for the kind invitation, and also members of your cabinet. All right, just one small correction to be made, and that is something factual. You have referred to me as a founder and the first dean of the Kuliyyah. I must say I am not the founder of the Kuliyyah. I strongly believe that Al-Marhum Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman was the founder, because the idea came from him. It did not come from me. As Brother Anas mentioned, that the Kuliyyah was not part of the original plan. We had the Kuliyyah of agriculture. We had the Kuliyyah of medicine, engineering, but we never thought of the Kuliyyah of social sciences. We have economics, which is a very important social science, and we have the Kuliyyah of law, which is also very important social science. But to have human sciences as a faculty, we never thought of that, because we thought, and I was one of those who framed the original plan, that it was very difficult to find people who are able to teach social sciences in the 80s from an Islamic perspective. So we did not want to repeat the mistake of other institutions in which you have the teaching of sociology, anthropology, political science, and all that, all taught from the secular and also from the colonial perspective. So we thought, okay, we'll let other universities teach those sciences. We'll concentrate on other things which we feel would be much easier to Islamicize. Okay, so as for the deanship, yes, I was the founding dean, and I worked on the curriculum with one or two brothers, and but I was not there for a long time. After a while, after getting the curriculum approved, then Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, Allah yarhamu, appointed me as the Deputy Rector for Academic Affairs, also in 1990. So I wasn't the dean for a very long, not even a year, I think just maybe several months. But I was not the founder of the Kuliyyah. So that is a correction to be made. All right. You have been told by Sister Amira, Yasmin, the the aim of this intellectual symposium and the objectives. Now I will take you to the second page of my paper. The second page. Okay. The idea of the new Kulliyyah in the mind of Al-Marhum Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, the second rector of IIUM. Much has been said about Dr. Abdul Hamid as a thinker, as a student activist, as an intellectual, as a professor, as an ummatic leader, as a friend, as a father to many needy and poor students, and as the real builder of IIUM. If it were not for Dr. Abdul Hamid with his innovative, creative ideas about Islamic education and about university education, IIUM would not be what it is today. And many of us, myself included, who became rectors after him, actually built upon what he had already constructed. So for that reason, his name will be forever immortalized in IIUM. For many reasons which we do not need to discuss, because for the last 1 month there have been many sessions to commemorate the legacy of the late Al-Marhum Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman. I have listed 4 key ideas of him when he came in 1989. He came in 88 and then was appointed in 1989. And I had known him before when I was in the States as a student, and I used to meet him in the annual MSA conventions, which were held in several states. And I was already impressed by this young up-and-coming scholar. He did not have his PhD yet at that time, but from the way he spoke about things, I could see in him the signs of a radical transformer of Muslim society. Radical not in the negative sense, but in the sense that he dared to question and break the stranglehold of traditional ideas which could not be defended rationally. Okay, so he came with this idea that, and we all agree with this, that IIUM is to produce leaders, not slaves of the market, yeah, not servants of the factory of capitalism, but leaders to transform the ummah based on Quranic imperatives as alternative to the secular paradigms of societal transformation. If you read his book, one of the latest is about the Quranic worldview as a springboard for cultural transformation. You will see his ideas maturing in that book. So he already had the Quranic worldview as a basis of societal transformation. But the first society that needs to be transformed is a Muslim society. And he has many strong views about reforming the Muslim society. And for that reason, he was not very popular in Saudi Arabia, although he was from Saudi Arabia. Okay, so remember, brothers and sisters, you are here to be leaders, not to be slaves, servants, or nuts and bolts in the machine of global capitalism or secular democracy. Okay, number two, leaders must know about societies they want to transform. A very pious man, a man who, a God-fearing person, may not be a good leader if he is ignorant about social realities. He's not aware of contemporary problems. He is not conversant with the ideas springing up in society. He's not following on latest developments and emerging issues. He may be religious and pious, but he is not meant to lead in the transformation of society. So it's better for him to remain religious and pious and leave the social engineering to the people more qualified to do so. And Abdul Hamid came from the world of worldly studies. He began his first degree in commerce, and then later on in diplomacy, international relations, and political science. And so he came up with this idea that he believed that the leaders who have this good knowledge of society, psychological, sociological, political, economic, legal, what have you, would be in a better position to provide leadership, because you know society quite well. You know the problems of society. And so you will not be wasting your time trying to solve problems which are not there, or trying to solve problems which cannot be solved because you do not know the nitty-gritty of social facts and social phenomena. So he has been nursing this idea that IIUM must have a faculty of social sciences, or at that time we call human sciences, with humanities. So you have two universes of knowledge, social sciences and humanities. We combine the two and make it human sciences. And this is not something new. Australia did it. I think in France also they call it sciences humaines, human sciences. Okay, now, so number three, another key idea of him is that social transformation must be guided by Islamic values, principles, values imbued in rational and Islamic perspectives. Yes, you may be a good social scientist, a good sociologist, a good psychologist, a good political scientist. But if your worldview is secular, if your worldview is atheistic, if your worldview is agnostic, and worse still, if your worldview is communistic, socialistic, then your social transformation is not going to be in accordance with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because all those worldviews are contrary to the Islamic worldview. And so you must have, you have the right wing of the social sciences. You cannot fly with one wing. You can only fly if you have two wings. The left wing must be from the religious disciplines, where you get the worldview, you get the principles, you get the values, you get the laws, all given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with the right and the left wings, then the bird can fly. Then this brings him to the fourth idea, to produce the holistic, the Islamically oriented, and now I would say the balanced graduates, having right wing and left wing really well balanced, and societally informed graduates of IIUM as the future transformational leaders of the Ummah. You're not just an ordinary leader. You are a transformational leader. You are not a traditionalist leader that just to repeat the tradition, to continue the tradition, to sustain the tradition. You are there to bring about change. Already Prof. Shukran mentioned the word agents of change. I use that phrase when I first taught in 1983, and I'm sure the first batch students will remember that. If you ask Prof. Aslam, you ask Prof. Ida Madiha and others, they will tell you that they were reminded time and again by me that you are the agents of change. Okay, so I do not use the word transformational at that time. So now I would say you are the Islamic agents of transformational societal change. Okay, so please remember that 5 words. You can forget other things, but don't forget the 5 words. Okay, so he says we need an institution to do that. We need the Kulliyyah, and that's where the battle begins between him and I. I said no. Why? Because I was afraid that if we have the faculty of, say, social sciences, we have economics and law, no problem, but social sciences would be sociology, anthropology, political science, psychology, communication, you might, yes, history and civilization. You could also bring social geography, but we do not have geography. I was against it because I said, where are, in Arabic, aina rijal? Where are the human resources to teach this secular colonial product disciplines from Islamic perspective? How can we decolonize those disciplines? How can we disengage ourselves from the theories, the concepts, the principles, what have you, which have been, produced and tailor-made for the colonial societies. Even literature being taught in Malaysia at that time, and history, and I was a student of the colonial system. The history I was taught was British history, not Malay history, not history of Nusantara. I knew nothing about Nusantara history from the curriculum. I knew a lot about British geography. I knew a lot about British history. I knew a lot about British literature. So, and Abdul Hamid was ready with the response. He said, we will find them around the world. We'll look for them around the world. And he was lucky because he was the leader of IIIT. IIIT stands for International Islamic Institute, International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization. IIIT, Islamic Thought. Of course, there were many members in the world at that time, in America, in UK, in Europe, and in the Middle East. And he was going to bring some of them to start the Kulliyyah. And I had to, I had to agree with him because he said he can bring those people. And he was lucky also because he had a free hand with the, with the financial system in a way, because the payment wasn't that good, but he was able to get a good scheme from the government because Dr. Mahathir was the Prime Minister, and he was also brought in with the approval of Dr. Mahathir, actually at the suggestion of Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim. And then Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim became the Minister of Finance and Deputy Prime Minister. So Alhamdulillah, Dr. Abdul Hamid managed to get good things from the government through Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim and also Dr. Mahathir at that time. So then some of them came and helped in the development of the Kuliyyah. Now, I say here the need to produce the first experiment in the world that is integrating 3 branches or 3 universes of knowledge in one faculty. Not 2, but 3. Yeah, why 3? First, you have Islamic revealed knowledge disciplines, which in other universities are called Islamic studies. We don't call them Islamic studies because I regard all the studies in an Islamic university must necessarily be Islamic. Okay, but in secular universities, only Faculty of Islamic Studies is Islamic, and so they call it Kuliyyah Pengajian Islam or Kuliyyah Ad-Dirasat Islamiyah as in Al-Azhar. But not here in IIUM. So I debated with him and he agreed. We call it Islamic revealed knowledge. Islamic revealed knowledge, that is one universe by itself. Then you have social sciences, another universe by itself. In the modern world, it is inherited from the colonial system. Then you have the humanities, or in the old days, they call it arts. So you have a faculty of science and arts. And University of Malaya, I was in the faculty of arts. I was in the Department of Islamic Studies in the faculty of arts. Later on, the word humanities became popular. And so we brought in the humanities as well. This is represented by languages, English, Arabic, by literature, English literature, Arabic literature, by philosophy, which of course did not exist now as a separate department for reasons we'll not discuss now, and history, part of history could be considered as a humanities. Then you have the bigger universe, the social sciences, sociology and anthropology used to be together, but then now separated. And now maybe they want to bring it back again in the West because anthropology served the colonial purpose very well, but now they are retreating from colonialism. So anthropology is struggling to survive, but sociology is still alive. And then you have political science, which is very, very important, and psychology, which is to me, psychology is the most important branch of the social sciences, because from Islamic perspective, this is a study of man as an individual, basically as an individual. Because sociology is a study of man as a collectivity in society. His behavior in society, that's being studied by sociology. But man as such, his mind, his feelings, his behavior influenced by his mind and his feelings, that is being studied by psychology. But from a Western secular perspective, you get the secular man. You don't find the Homo religiosus. You find Homo sapiens, not Homo religiosus. Dato, what's his name? Dato Hamidon mentioned that he is Homo paradiso, that man is a being from paradise, because that's where we originally came from. Anyway, so psychology is very, very important, but its foundation is problematic. But the branches are very, very important. And if you can Islamicize, and that does not mean rejecting, where you need to Islamicize, you Islamicize. But where there are no contradictions and quite beneficial, no problem. And this is the attitude of Al-Marhum Malik Badri. When it comes to clinical psychology based on empirical research, by all means, take it. We need the empirical evidences because science is based on evidence. And but there is also the transcendent perspective that you get from revelation. So you bring the transcendent together with the empirical, you get good psychology. And I think psychology is coming along now, you know, away from the time of what's his name? The founder of psychoanalysis, Prof. Shukran, Freud, yeah, of Sigmund Freud. Anyway, so far away from nowadays, it is people will laugh at you if you talk about Freud, but there are still people, and there are our graduates who studied in the West and came back talking about, you know, Freudian psychology, blah blah blah, when it is already overtaken by time. And now there is positive psychology, which is also one platform that that can work together with Islamic psycho-spiritual knowledge. All right, so that is about his key ideas. I come to page 2, the last part, saying MKH was appointed as founding dean. So I work on the new curriculum with the new system that Dr. Abdul Hamid brought, credit hour system, major, minor. If you major in human science, you must minor in review knowledge. If you major in review knowledge, you must minor in human science. So you know 2 languages, English, Arabic. And this is all revolution to many people. And then you have also double major he introduced in the Kuliyyah of laws, and still very, very much needed. Then he strengthened the position of Arabic and English. These are the 2 languages, official languages of the university. So I want you to know, Malay is not the official language of the university, however much you like Malay, and I am a Malay, and I can speak Malay better than some of the students. But we are supposed to excel in 2 other languages so that we can become global players. I cannot become a global player if I continue to speak only Kelantan Malay and Kelantan English. So I had to learn the standard Malay and the British English. Then we could be global players, inshallah. Okay, now let's go to page 3. Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, as the founder of the Kulliyyah, was very concerned. Now he has the baby in his own hand. He needs to nourish the baby, feed the baby, make the baby walk and able to run later on. So the Kulliyyah is his baby. That is why we want to name the Kulliyyah after the father. I am his brother. I'm not the one who gave birth. He was the one who gave birth, and so he is the father. Sorry, I mean the father doesn't give birth, but it is by his will that that the Kulliyyah came into being, and so it is only proper that the Kulliyyah the child is named after the father. Kuliyyah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences, bin Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman. So you're all Abu Sulaiman, you belong to the Abu Sulaiman tribe. At least you become Meccan. If you become Kamal Hassan tribe, you become a Pasimah Syrian. Pasimah sajalah. You cannot compete with Mecca. All right, then then he brought the soul of the university, the ruh of the university, that is the mission of Islamiyatul Ma'arif or Aslamatul Ma'arifah or Aslamatul Al-Ulum Al-Insaniyah, whatever. There's several Arabic names for that, but in English we call it Islamization of human knowledge for human sciences. Okay, this way we can decolonize, we can indigenize, we can nativize, we can reform, we can transform, we can reconstruct the human sciences we inherit from the colonial system and civilization. That is as far as human sciences and humanities and social sciences are concerned. But what about revealed knowledge and heritage? In fact, it was known, brothers and sisters, it was known Islamic revealed knowledge and heritage. Ulum al-Wahi wa-Turath al-Islamiyya in the beginning, and then somehow the Turath, the heritage somehow was dropped along the way, and then you have IRKHS. What about these disciplines, which I was afraid to start as a faculty, because then we will be again, continuing the dichotomy of the religious sciences from the non-religious sciences. I do not want that dichotomy to exist in an Islamic university. That's why I was against the establishment of a faculty of Islamic studies or a faculty of social sciences. But Dr. Al-Hamid came with his magic. He got it put into one, and this became the first experiment in the world until today. So what do I mean by relevantization? I will explain in number 4.2 afterwards. Abdul Hamid, as I said, as the father, nourished, cherished, developed, protected, because to him, he was biased because this was the most important kuliyyah to him. He spent a lot of money helping the poor students, because he brought students from all over the world, some of them very poor, they don't have the money. Now they are leaders, thanks to Abdul Hamid's generosity. Out of his own pocket, or the pocket of some good brothers, he was able to, access the sources of funds from outside and to help students to come. Now you have 6,000, subhanallah. Never thought. I was thinking when I was working on this university, and I presented this idea to our leaders at that time, the number of this university was 5,000. Can you imagine? The whole university, 5,000, just selected people. But one kuliyyah, 6,000, and you have what, 14 kuliyyahs and centers and so on. Now you have about 30,000 students, subhanallah. But Abdul Hamid was very happy. Every time he came here, he was very, very happy. And he kept talking about IIUM wherever he went. To the point, he wanted to establish an Arab one, Jami'atul Sharq, in Lebanon. That was one of his ideas. He said, IIUM will take care of the English world. right? But he wanted one for the Arab world alone, but based on IRUM model. And he produced IRUM, so he could reproduce the model in the Middle East, but the Middle East did not have the peace that we have in Malaysia. So the Middle East is always burning. Alhamdulillah, we are not suffering such calamities. Okay, so that's why I think he even wanted at one time entertain the idea of migrating to Malaysia, although he did not like, he hated durian, you know, of the king of the fruits. To him, it was the worst of fruits, but he did not mind to come and live here because at one time he felt that, you know, things are not livable in Saudi Arabia. Okay, these are things which I will not say when he was alive. Now they cannot do anything to him out of their clutches. So he brought scholars, as he said, you know, he brought the prominent scholars. Ismail al-Faruqi came, Sheikh Taha Jabir came, Abdul Wahab al-Masiri came, and subhanallah, we had great scholars, and the early academic staff of the Kuliyyah really benefited from this, because the early staff also was struggling how to go about with this IOHK, Islamization of human sciences. And then Triple IT spent a lot of money. It opened its own branch in Malaysia and sponsored the publication of textbook, which is still being done today. Until today, Triple IT is still sponsoring publication of textbooks in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in Bangladesh, in America, of course, in England. May Allah bless the efforts of Triple IT and the money, the halal money that it has been able to disburse for the benefit of poor students around the world. And the books of Ismail Faruqi, the books of Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, the books of Sheikh Taha Jabir were popularized. And this became the guiding lights for scholars to embark on Islamization of human sciences, or Islamicization of human sciences. That is a term that I prefer. Now we come to relevantization. MKH, Mohd Kamal Hassan, introduced the concept and mission of relevantization of IRKH disciplines as an alternative to Islamization of human sciences. Now, this is different from what Dr. Abdul Hamid and Triple IT people were doing, because to them, everything comes under Islamization. Now, I did not agree with the term Islamization to be used for revealed knowledge. It's just like saying Aslamatul Islam to me. Because the religious sciences, fiqh, usul fiqh, al-Quran, ulum al-Quran, ulum al-Hadith, they were all based on the, what we call the correct falsafa al-ilm, falsafatul ilm. The philosophy of knowledge is based on the Quranic philosophy of knowledge. And philosophy of knowledge is called epistemology. Okay, so in other words, the epistemological foundation of revealed knowledge disciplines are already Islamic, whereas the epistemological foundations of the social sciences and the humanities are not Islamic. You either have positivism in sociology, political science, rationalism, pragmatism, and then you have also at one time existentialism. You have, of course, then postmodernism, and now postmodernism. In the natural sciences, you have naturalism, positivism, materialism, and in the communist world, atheism. So all those philosophical assumptions constitute the epistemological basis for the social sciences, and therefore it is correct to ask for Islamization. Aslamatul al-ulum al-insaniyya or al-bashariyya. But why can you say aslama al-ulum al-Quran? So I thought, but I could only do this after Abdul Hamid has left. When I became director, then I, shared this idea that why don't we have the word relevantization for revealed knowledge. Why? Because most of the way we teach revealed knowledge disciplines tend to be fixed over time and not really dynamic, not really moving with the time. And so that's why in Islamic contemporary thought, there has always been the struggle between taqlid and ijtihad. All right? And the reformists, and Abdul Hamid and all the rest, they represent the reformists. They are for ijtihad. And I am for ijtihad. I'm not for taqlid. Imam al-Ghazali is not for taqlid. So, but the religious sciences tend to be taqlidi in its approach. So, for instance, you can teach usul al-fiqh based on the old ideas, and you even memorize all that, but you can't apply it in today's world because it was, a science produced at that time. So now I realize that being a product of Islamic Studies Department, University of Malaya, we believe that the teaching and learning involves taghyir, change, good change, islah, reform, tajdeed, renewal, ijtihad, the use of independent reasoning, ihya, bringing alive the spirit that should be alive, as Al-Ghazali did. Because so that's why, to me, Al-Ghazali was the first relevantizer of revealed knowledge. Also, he was the first Islamizer of the humanities, because he studied philosophy, Greek philosophy, and philosophy at that time was also involved science. Philosophy involved mathematics. So philosophy was not just humanities, but also hard sciences. And Al-Ghazali, to me, was the first to Islamize with his Tahafud al-Falasifa. And he was also the first to relevantize with his Ihya Ulumuddin, because to him, the Ulum ad-Din were dead at the hands of the taqlidi scholars of Islam, or at the hands of the Dunyawi scholars of Islam. Then you need also tahwil. Tahwil is transformation. You can add also thawra, but of course you don't want to bring revolution in the teaching. Revolution in technology, yes, but we call this tahdith, modernization, yeah, in the teaching, in the let's say pedagogical methods. All right, so So I popularized this in my rectorship. Of course, there were the revealed knowledge people. Not everybody welcomed this idea. Where is this coming from? You know, but I don't want it to be called to come under Islamization, because I feel that Islamization is a medicine for brain surgery, whereas IRK is not suffering from brain tumor; it's suffering from not having frequent baths, tak mandi, kurang mandi, jadi baunya tak berapa enak. So you need to relevantize, you know, mandi, basuh, cuci, tambah sikit, you know, apa itu, all the nice perfume, alhamdulillah. So that's relevantization. Okay, move on to the next page. Maybe in the Q&A, you may want to ask other things relating to relevantization and Islamization. We can discuss that, inshallah. Now, 4.3, when I was no longer the rector and Dr. Prof. Said Arabi, Idit, became the rector, I proposed the idea of having a center for Islamization. He agreed with it, but he was not yet able to establish it. It became the task of Prof. Zaliha, the next rector, to establish it, I think in 2012. I may have, maybe Prof. Shukran could correct me if I make a mistake in this. It was established in 2012. Was Professor Zaliha rector then, or was it still Dr. Said Arabi? Maybe you can correct me later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with centuries established in 2012, at first it was in my library. So I was running the work of centuries with the help of our director and others from my library, and then we have our own office. So we conducted special programs. We initiated Islahi programs, Islahi intellectual, social, and reform programs, intellectual, spiritual reform program, and then we managed to export them to Indonesia, and one of the universities adopted it. We also initiated the appointment of coordinators of IOHK. Centuries, by the way, stands for Center for Islamization. It is on the second floor above the post office. And so we appointed coordinators, and alhamdulillah, every kuliyyah in the university has coordinators, and we have frequent meetings with the coordinators. Then we revive also ibadah camps, and then with centuries also being in charge of the mosque, with Prof. Akmal being the director, the ibadah camps were revived, and Dr. Prof. Zaliha was very much for it. And so ibadah camp brought back the ruh with the Qiyamul Layl, being made part of the program for all kuliyyahs. Then another very important development in the university was the coming out with the policy on IOHK, because IOHK did not have a policy, or university did not have a policy on IOHK. And so we produce the policy. It is accessible from the website, dear brothers and sisters. If you want to know what is the policy, just go to the website and look for the policy on Islamization, policies and guidelines on Islamization. And we also emphasized that Islamization of human knowledge actually has two dimensions. One is called Islamization of the self, Aslamatun Nafs, and the other one, Islamization of human knowledge, Aslama al-Ulum al-Insaniyya. And to us, Islamization of self precedes Islamization of human knowledge. But this policy, the book itself, is not being given proper attention. So we don't want this to die a natural death. So we need to revise. We need to go back to the policy to get the guidance as to the why Islamization, what is Islamization, and how to go about doing Islamization. Many of these issues are in the policy book, but we in Centris decided to have another look at the policy to update, upgrade, and maybe improve the presentation in the book. Now I would like to mention the problems with the permission of our Dean. This is on page 4. Can you go on to the next page? Yeah, okay, number 5. Okay, number 5. I mentioned here that the interdisciplinary gaps continue to exist in the Kulliyyah. Well, in universities, this is quite normal. You have interdisciplinary gaps or inter-Kuliyyah gaps, yeah, or inter-faculty gaps. With their own, silos and walls separating the different faculties. We do have this also, and I think Prof. Shukran is much more aware of this than I am, and we need to address these gaps. These are, to my mind, they're not structural gaps. They are human gaps. So Prof. Shukran, being a psychologist, is in the best position how to resolve the human problem in the Kuliyyah. People coming with a very rigid mindset. Yeah. That
Noted.
Sorry?
Inshallah, I take note of that.
Yeah. It's a human problem because they come with their own mindsets. So how to change the mindset? And you talk about the mindset before. When you came to the Metric Center, you were just thinking about personal aspirations, but then the university changed that mindset into ummatic and civilizational aspirations, going beyond the personal. Some of our people, because we have two big universes, two big branches of this durian tree in the Kuliyyah, and people in one branch are not familiar with people in the other branch, and so we need to bring them together. Of course, this is not the work of students, but the work of our academic heads. Okay, so I mentioned several factors. I mentioned 4 or 5 factors. Yeah, 5 factors for the existence of these human gaps or interhuman gaps. Interhuman communication problems. One is the lack of understanding of IOHK among human science scholars and lack of understanding of relevantization among IRK scholars. Second, new heads are not all committed to the Islamization missions, either because they are new or because their specialization in the social sciences are actually all based on the Western paradigm. So the Islamization and the Western paradigm cannot go together except for some few things. And if the heads are not able to handle this, then the gaps continue. Number 3, you have new academic staff coming all the time. Unlike our dean, who was the product of IIUM, and then being now the dean, so he is imbued with the vision, mission from the day one. But new academic staff coming from, let's say, coming from Nottingham or Liverpool, okay, Manchester, with the fresh PhDs from those universities, it will take time for them to adjust. First, to understand what it is, and understanding is not an easy thing, because then you have to read many books, you have to know what Ismail Faruqi said, what Abdul Hamid said, what Sheikh Tajab has said, what so-and-so said. And then, and these are not put in a single book. Maybe we hope one day somebody will do it. Okay, then, and these fresh PhDs, they're coming in every year. And we used to have good orientation programs, but now we don't have good orientation programs. We don't have also the diploma that Dr. Abdul Hamid introduced. The diploma, did I mention the diploma somewhere? I think I must have missed the diploma that Dr. Abdul Hamid introduced. Oh yes, I mentioned under point 3, he introduced a 1-year diploma of Islamic review knowledge for non-IRKH academic staff and diploma of human sciences for staff of IRK. That's another great a great transformation of Abdul Hamid. We tried to improve it, but we have problems. Okay, now we come to the 4th factor, is that Islamization of self is not properly organized. It's just left to the individual initiatives. And now even when it comes to ibadah camp, okay lah buat di rumah sendiri-sendiri, also being done by our kuliyyah. So we do not know what's going on at home. But if it is well organized and done in the mosque, then you have a different experience having to sleep in the mosque, wake up and pray tahajjud together with others, listen to the Quran, because the mosque has a special sacred ambience that you don't have at home. Okay, so so Islamization of the self is not being given proper attention by the academic staff. And last factor is ministry's policy, which normally does not give due regard to IOHK or Islamization of self missions. and with the ministry's policy on ranking and all that, the academic staff's attention is taken away from Islamization to ranking and to how to gain credits for that, how to gain extra points. So you think of attending this intellectual symposium, how many points do I get, you know? So you want to increase the number of points. The pointization of the academic life. Now I come to what this students can do under 6. Students of both wings of the Kuliyyah can help to strengthen synergization, synthesis, integration, Islamicization, and relevantization by working on common projects. Yeah? Have more common projects or more trans and interdisciplinary projects rather than one disciplinary project, monodiscipline project. So you should have plural discipline projects and programs related to societal and civilizational transformations. And this will involve inter and transdisciplinary communication, collaboration, experimentation, and dialogues to break down disciplinary silos erected by academics. You did not erect the silos. The academics erected the silos. And therefore you are also, in a way, oriented to be working with the silos. But you can break away from this. I think it is possible now. I'm sure the Kuliyyah curriculum allows for this kind of independent initiatives by students working, with both wings working together. I hope this is going on, inshallah. And now I come to the conclusion. I have listed 5 points in the conclusion. Number 1, the world of confused and lost humanity is in dire need of the divinely inspired approaches and solutions to the global crisis and moral decadence which the corrupt secular civilization has produced. Number 2, the conventional approaches have failed because they deny the sovereignty of the one true God and his guidance. One example, the world now is being orchestrated with the music of sustainability. So that is the world orchestra, how to come out with sustainable development. And you have 17, inshallah, we are going to work on 18. That too is bound to fail because the discourse and the paradigm denies the sustainer of the universe. Yet you talk about sustainability. Who sustains the world? Capitalism, communism, socialism, Islamism? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the sustainer. And yet, this world orchestra doesn't play that music. It continues to play the secular music. And we in IIUM, we have our contribution. Our rector is working on it. We are working together to make our impact at UNESCO and also United Nations, so that this world global orchestra will have a different music, inshallah. Then I come to the third point. Materialistic and technocentric perspectives have deceived humanity with all the delusions. This is what I call, what the Quran calls ghurur. So materialism, technocentrism, scientism, naturalism, progressivism, modernism have deceived humanity with all the delusions, with all the satanic seductions, the waswas shaitan, with all the illusions, with all the fata morgana. You think there is water, when you go there, there's no water. That is what modernity has done to humanity. You think we are in progress. In actual fact, we are in regress. So the present postmodern civilization is crumbling. I come to the next point, fourth point. It is IIUM's duty to restore, uphold, and promote the authority, the sovereignty, the true knowledge, the true wisdom, and the true guidance from the one and only Lord of the universe, from the one and only sustainer of the universe. It's our duty as an Islamic university. We are not another regular university. We are an Islamic university. And a Christian university would also do the same thing. So we are universities based on faith and not based on nation's interest. And finally, I say the students of this blessed Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman Kuliyyah of IRKHS have the sacred responsibility to spread the message of the one and only God to the whole of humanity, to continue the sublime mission of Rahmatan lil Alameen, mercy to all the worlds, in accordance with the noble vision of IIUM. We sing this Rahmatan lil Alameen in our song, and we have the vision that is to restore and to reconstruct the Allah worshipping civilization, not the Allah denying civilization, or worse still, Allah defiant civilization, which we have today. And this is for the well-being of all of humanity and nature. So my dear Dean, my dear brother Anas, my dear sisters and brothers, I end my presentation. I apologize for its length of time, but I'll be very happy to hear your comments, your observations, or your critique, and I hope to learn from you, inshallah. Thank you very much. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Mohd Kamal Hassan, for the lecture on what I can recap the overview since the formation or the establishment of Kuliyyah of Islamic Relevant Knowledge and Human Sciences, which I apologize, that is founded by Professor Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, and the founding dean of the Kuliyyah is Professor Mohd Kamal Hassan. And Prof. Kamal Hassan has mentioned on the formation of the Kuliyyah during the tenureship of Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman as the second rector of IIUM, and then moving forward when Professor Mohd Kamal Hassan was appointed as the dean, where the curriculum or the academic review was done for the Kuliyyah, and it was, we can say, something that is revolutionary, something that is different, and something that is not done until today, the formation of a Kuliyyah that gathers both Islamic relevant knowledge as well as human sciences. Since 1990 until 2021, it is not done anywhere in the world, be it international Islamic university or any kind of university. And then Prof. Kamal Hassan had mentioned on the relevantation of IRKHS as an alternative to
Relevantization.
Relevantization of IRKHS, Prof.
It's a new word, but it was approved by the English department of IIUM.
Thank you very much, Prof. As an alternative towards Islamization. And then Prof. Kamal Hassan had moved forward the discussion on the gaps that could be narrowed and the adjustment that could be made towards a flourishing or a more successful KIRKHS, as well as the role of us, the students of KIRKHS, in upholding the synergization, the Islamicization, as well as the relevantization of the disciplines under our Kulliyyah by having interdisciplinary projects, which I believe it is already ongoing, whereby we have the student representative from all departments today, which have been working interdisciplinary projects. For example, sociology with English language, for example, Islamic related knowledge with political science. Hence, it is going to be the role of the students of KIRKHS to achieve and to propagate the notion of Rahmatan lil Alamin, or mercy to all the world. And for now, we will move on to the Q&A session, whereby if anyone in the Zoom as well as the one in Facebook, you may write down your comment. And for those that in the Zoom, you may be allowed to request to unmute and ask your questions to Prof. Kamal Hassan, inshallah. We will start with Brother Shidki.
Okay, first of all, thank you, Brother Anas, for the chance. And Assalamualaikum, Prof. Kamal. May you always enjoy yourself. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sidki Mukhtasar. I am a student of Usuluddin in IRK from Indonesia. And if I may, Brother Anas, I may perhaps have two questions. The first question may be, we believe, or maybe a short of my understanding on the concept of Islamization is that it is an epistemological agenda to reform and to renew our current colonized epistemology, to go back to the core principle of Islamic principle. And since the time of the Reformation, the modern Reformation of Islamic movement, we have seen we may perhaps can tell there are two main school of thoughts, you may say. Perhaps you please correct me on this, on how I understand this. First one is the one that focus on this epistemological grounding that is influenced by the colonialist Western paradigm, and the other school of thought of Islamic Reformation that focus on the actualization of Islamic understanding on the modern discipline in sociology, in political science. And we may see maybe the two prominent figures can be shortly represented by one by Alatas, one by Fazlur Rahman. And today, now we may see the great figures that may represent the school of thought of those are fighting on each other. The one say to the others, those are too liberal. The one say to the others are not actual with our challenges of our modern world. And perhaps from your side, I might want to ask, how should we, because we believe that those two are equally important, do we go strive forward in our progress for civilization? Is it really necessary to delay our actualization in the modern discipline to focus on Islamization first, or is it possible for those two of agenda can go together without being contradicting each other? Like today we are seeing those two school of thoughts are fighting on each other. That's my first question. Okay. And the second question may be like we have seen now in our postmodern era, there are still so many issues and so many questions that we haven't heard about from the ideas from Islamic worldview, civilizational thought on our way to solve the problem. And my question may be, is our Islamic epistemology is already sufficient to answer the challenges of our postmodern era? If that's so, what are the key aspect from our Islamic epistemology that should be focused on or maybe developed to be able to answer the problem postmodern era? Or if our Islamic epistemology is still not sufficient to answer the postmodern challenges, what are the fields in our Islamic epistemology that we still have the gaps, and we still need to research more on that? So maybe perhaps if we have the clear understanding on what are our gaps and what are our potential, maybe us students that maybe still haven't got their FYP can maybe focus on those gaps lah, to maybe can develop on this progress. Thank you so much, Prof. Kamal. Assalamualaikum.
Prof, if you need.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Siddiqui Mukhtasar, for really quite a long question. I had some problem trying to absorb and understand, but anyway, I will try. First, you mentioned the two schools of thought fighting with one another. Well, I do not see it that way. I see, personally, I see IIUM as absorbing ideas and synthesizing. We do not continue the conflict, although Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman was in a way, sharing the views of Ismail Faruqi. But you mentioned Al-Attas and Fazur Rahman, and you did not mention Ismail Al-Faruqi. I was thinking that the three giants of the last century was Sayyid Naqib Al-Attas, and then Ismail Al-Faruqi, and Sayyid Hussein Nasr. Fazur Rahman, I happened to meet Fazur Rahman when I was at Columbia, and he was against the idea of Islamization of knowledge, but not Sayyid Hussein Nasr. Although Sayyid Hussein Nasr has a different view from Sayyid Naqib Al-Attas. So you might say there is two different schools of thought with Islamization. But for Fazur Rahman, he proposed the idea of Islamization of the mind of the scholar. Yeah. So the mind of the scholar needs to be reformed in a way that's more or less the same as what Abdul Hamid has been saying. He's Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, talks about the crisis in the Muslim mind. But they go beyond the mind to the institution. They feel that the school, the universities, the madrasa need to be changed, need to be reformed. So what Brother Siddiqui, I prefer to take the view of synthesis rather than conflict. We in IIUM now, of course, we don't talk much about Ismail Faruqi or Professor Naqib Al-Attas because IIUM is not triple IT, and IIUM is not actually institute based on the thoughts of our great Professor Said Naqib Al-Attas. His great institution was ISTAC, which was established under his guidance. But then his ISTAC has also been transformed and came back to the university's fold. So I would prefer, and I would like our students not to perpetuate what you call fighting one another. These are the muqallideen, the followers of the leaders tend to take a fighting spirit. Whereas the leaders, the mujtahideen of the madhahib were very, very open-minded, very accommodating. Shafi'i says, this is my view. If you find somebody, a hadith, contradicts, follow the hadith and not my views. So we, the the second generation or the third generation of students do not try to perpetuate the conflict. We try to resolve the conflict so that we can face the real enemy. The real enemy is out there. Secularism, humanism, scientism, atheism, agnosticism, those are the real enemies. So that's why in IIUM, you have never heard me, just promoting just one school of thought. We talk about the vision that is Islamization of human knowledge. And I mentioned Al-Ghazali was the first when it comes to Aslama al-ulum, let's say al-ulum al-tabi'iyya, which included philosophy. And then he was also the first person to relevantize, to my mind. But I'm not saying I am starting a new school, with relevantization. It's just, just a minor adaptation and, improvement on what's going on. Now, Fazlur Rahman, when I read his books, of course, I admire, his brilliant mind, but I don't agree with everything he said. All right, and there are some serious things which I know have been said, but I'm not going to talk about it in the public. Now, so another thing is that you have to look at the strength of every person. What is the strength of Faruqi? What is the strength of Al-Attas? What is the strength of Fazlur Rahman? The strength of Fazlur Rahman is his knowledge of Greek philosophy. All right, this is really great, and how Greek philosophy impacted upon the Muslim scholars. This is great. The strength of Ismail Faruqi is the knowledge about the present West and the social sciences in the West, because he was there. He was in, of course, he was in Beirut, American University of Beirut, and then in America. And the strength of Professor Al-Attas is in the continuation of the tradition of Islamic falsafa Islamiyya, from the time of Al-Ghazali and until today. And his strength is in the preservation of the Islamic tradition of the Sunni world. And that is great. And I am in favor of the Sunni epistemology, not the Shi'i epistemology that is, associated with Sayyid Hussein Nasr. Okay, now come to epistemology. Is our Islamic epistemology adequate to deal with the problems of postmodern era? What do we mean by Islamic epistemology? All right, so now, if by epistemology, Islamic epistemology, I mean the discipline that recognizes the superiority of revelation over reason, all right, while respecting the role of reason, then I don't think there's any problem with this Islamic epistemology, which I would say the Quranic epistemology, which is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran and the Sunnah. So what needs to be changed is not the epistemology, it is the human understanding of that epistemology. The liberal people will understand revelation as not something binding, not something that is really coming from God, but actually went through the prophetic mind, and as such, there is a human factor in revelation, to the point that the liberalists can say that the Quran is a cultural product, is intaj ilmi or intaj thaqafi. So I think we have to look at postmodern issues very, very critically, very independent, very objectively, so that otherwise we say the Quran. Some people are saying it, not you, but some people are saying it. The Quran is not adequate to deal with all the new issues. So in Sudan, I think they came up with the idea you need a second revelation. The first revelation is the Quran. It is meant basically for the 7th century Arabia. Today things have changed. Why do you talk about women, being given half of men property with inheritance? You have to change that. If you cannot change, come out with a new revelation. And so this was part of the, spirit of liberalism in Indonesia with Jaringan Islam Liberal, JIL. So to my mind, I would say that the epistemology that Allah has provided in the Quran is adequate to be the basis, I say, not the detailed answers. The detailed answers will have to come from ijtihad based on the Quranic epistemology, not ijtihad based on liberalism, not ijtihad based on Arkun's philosophy or Nasir Abu Zaid's worldview. Okay, so that's my response to the very difficult question of Sidqi Mukhtasar.
Thank you very much, Prof. I think we have another questions coming from Brother Alif Naif.
Yes, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, Prof. My name is Alif. So I have a question. You said that one of the concerns when bringing social sciences into the Kulliyyah is because of its heavily colonized ideas. So I think since the 70s, there have been a movement to decolonize knowledge. We may say notably from Syed Hussein Alatas, The Myth of the Lazy Native, and of course other scholars that I'm not well aware of. But if you may, Prof, can you share what methods that you and Professor Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman use to decolonize the social sciences when bringing the ideas into our Kulliyyah? Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, you are right in saying that many of the main body of conventional social sciences were the product of colonialism. And you are right also in saying that Prof. Syed Hussein Alatas, Allah Yarhamu, was also very instrumental in decolonizing the colonized knowledge. And then USM took it up with the Institute for Institute of Policy Studies, or is it Strategic Studies? They have been working on decolonization, indigenization, and also local wisdom, kearifan lokal. To me, I can consider this as modes of Islamization. But when we question the philosophical assumptions of the social sciences, that's also part of decolonization, because it's those philosophical assumptions which are being used to colonize us. So we in the Islamization of knowledge discourse of Abdul Hamid, it's to critique the philosophical assumptions coming from the West. Okay, now there are other you might say rationale for Islamization, not just decolonization. All right, I would first use what I call the scriptural justification, meaning to say the Quran requires Islamization of thought. Now, I cannot elaborate, this will take too long, okay? I just want to mention there is such a thing called, you might say, scriptural justification. Nothing to do with colonialism. It's because the Quran demands this Islamization. And I refer you to, let's say, Dr. Muhammad al-Imara in his book, ماذا تعني بأسلم المعرفة? What do you mean by this? And in his book, he says that all the messengers of God came and critique the existing epistemology. And he used the word epistemology al-wada'i, that is positive epistemology of the time. Okay, so the prophets did not use Islamization of knowledge, but their message formed a critique of the epistemology. And the Quran comes up with its own epistemology. So that is what I call the scriptural justification. Second, also scriptural, what do we mean by Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq? Yeah. There again, we can interpret in many ways, but to me, is the pursuit of knowledge within the framework of serving God. Bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Yeah? Because khalaq there, and so in other words, you are a creature of God and you seek knowledge that is given by God. So therefore your pursuit of knowledge must be within that philosophical framework of ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so that's another justification. The third, I would say, the philosophical justification with regard to the idea of the intellect. What is the intellect? What is aqal vis-a-vis revelation? Okay, so here is the issue of epistemology. So the Tawhidic epistemology regards aqal as a gift and amana from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Colonization, imperialism and all that is destroying the amana of Allah. So we restore the amana. So that has nothing to do with colonization or decolonization, but purely looking at the issue from a philosophical perspective. All right. Then we look at also educational perspective. What is the role of the teacher? What is the role of the scholar? What is the role of the alim? This again has nothing to do with colonialism. Yeah. What is the role of the alim and ulama? Yeah, ulama. So here we find in the Islamic worldview and Islamic history, the place of the alim is very, very high, you know. And Ghazali has, in his book Kitab al-Ilm, has a special section on Fadilatul Ta'allum, Fadilatul Ilm, and then Fadilatul Ta'allum, and then Fadilatul Ta'lim. What I want to focus is that the alim has a sacred role to play, yeah. Whereas in the secular perspective, the scholar has no sacred role to play. He plays his own role, dictated either by the state or by the institution that pays for his research, or by the colonial master that sends a scholar to colonize. Whoever is your master, you're working for that. Whereas the alim has a divine role. He is al-ulama warathatul anbiya. Okay, very, very high position given to the ulama. Would the ulama spread false knowledge or confuse knowledge with falsehood? Or with his knowledge and science denies God, or is ambivalent about God? These are all problems of Western knowledge and post-colonial knowledge. Now we don't have colonialism like before. We have post-modernity, we have post-colonialism, but still the problems are the same, because the philosophical presuppositions are basically the same, namely secularism, yeah, secularism, or nationalism, or humanism, or what have you. Okay, so that is just, you know, a brief response to your question. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the questions, for the answer to the question by Brother Alif Naif. I think we may have one last question from Sister Amirah Yasmin.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brother Anas Hayyan. I believe that everyone here is very inspired with your sharing on, especially in your successful program knowledge to make it and relevantizing Islamic knowledge in the human science and thus creating KIRKHS. So we had this one discussion on memaknakan merdeka and whether we are clearly independent in the state of actualism. So this talk is very meaningful. How did you overcome the obstacles to ensure a successful reformation of a system that will benefit the society? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Amirah Yasmin. Prof, if I may conclude the questions, it was on how do we overcome obstacles in introducing progressive ideas to reform a system?
Okay, that's a very general question. First of all, we want to know what are the obstacles, and then you say progressive ideas. What do you mean by progressive ideas? So you have to be more specific. But anyway, since we don't have the time, obstacles, you have to dissect the obstacles. Are they material obstacles? Are they non-material obstacles, right? Like a mindset is a non-material obstacle, yeah? A mindset that is opposed to change and transformation, that is a non-material obstacle. There is also a structural obstacle. Let's say the law of the country is against transformation, so that's structural. Or the elites of the country are opposed to that. So you have classes in society, and the upper class is against the lower class trying to liberate themselves from the control of the upper classes. That's structural obstacles, and each type of obstacle has its own remedies. So it's not easy to generalize, but if because this is general, so my generalization is you need faith in God, very strong faith in God, and then you need also competency in doing the job of reform. All right. If you are going to build a new bridge, of course you have to have a man of faith, but it is not the faith that is going to make the bridge successful. You have to be an engineer, but not any engineer, not an engineer in computer programming, but a civil engineer. Then you build the perfect bridge. All right. So you have to have the iman aspect is the foundation, and then you have the skill aspect, and then you have the knowledge aspect, you have the attitude aspect. But working alone, you cannot bring about change. You need a group, so you have to know how to form an organization, all right? How to have the views shared by a society, so that collectively you become a force of change. But individually, however brilliant you are, you have serious limitations, because you cannot bring about change just by single-handedly. Okay? Unless Amira wants to continue, and if the time allows, I will try to answer. Amira,
yeah, Amira,
maybe you give a specific obstacle. Say, Kamal Hassan is the obstacle. What do? Remove him. Very easy.
I'm sorry, my internet is quite breaking.
Yeah, okay, I'm so sorry. That's why I cannot follow you. I cannot follow you.
All right. Okay, so what I meant was that sometimes people might not accept the ideas of reformation when it is an alien to the society or the system itself. So
okay.
yeah. So
okay. Okay, people
my
cannot
question
accept
is, how would you
alien.
people could be achieved?
Huh? Sorry?
Yes, Prof. Because it is something that is quite foreign or different towards the system, and it does not fit the norm
okay.
of the current people.
You know, when Islam came to this part of the world, it was a foreign system, right? When Islam came to Southeast Asia, the people were either Hindus or they were animists, right? And Islam was alien, belief in one God. The people were worshipping many gods with polytheism, and the people were worshipping the trees because of animism. But Islam succeeded because it agrees with the fitrah of human beings. It appears to be alien from outside, but when it is being internalized, it is in harmony with the fitrah, and people finally became Muslims. So also with this idea of Islamization of knowledge, it appears to be strange, different. But when you analyze, as I said, the Quran wants you to Islamize. How about that? You know, of course, the Quran doesn't use the word Islamization. And the word knowledge in the Quran is something very, very pure and sacred. But when we say Islamization of human knowledge, We're talking about the human interpretation of knowledge, the human production of knowledge, human creation of knowledge. Anything human is imperfect. And therefore, the knowledge produced will also be imperfect. And so we are dealing with imperfect product of the human mind. But when we talk about knowledge that Allah talks in the Quran, then it is already Islamic. We do not need to Islamize. That's why I came up with the word relevantization. Okay? Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the answers to all those beautiful questions. Before we pass it back to the Master of Ceremony, Prof, if you would like to say any last words to the audiences here and also in Facebook.
Are you asking me, or?
If you would like to say anything.
Oh, okay. I just, first of all, I thank the organizers for inviting me. And I'm very happy indeed that you brought this subject. You in your title, Bridging the Discipline, already you are implying something to be bridged. And I hope that what we discussed today will help to create that bridge or to strengthen the bridge and to remove the silos, because you are two wings of the same bird. Okay? And remember, you are actually the children and the grandchildren of Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman. So you have the blood of a Meccan in you. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you also to our learned dean and the leaders of the Kuliyyah for this. And I was informed by Prof. Shukran that the rector has informed him that the acronym for the Kuliyyah will be ASKIH, ASKIH, yeah, ASKIH, Abdul Hamid Ahmad Abu Sulaiman, Kuliyyah of Islamic Review Knowledge and Human Sciences, ASKIH. So I am sharing with you something that the rector has informed our dean. Thank you very much, Brother Rector, for this, for making it easy. ASKI.
Thank you very much, Prof. It is
okay.
New news for us as well. Thank you very much for the announcement. And
no, it's not an announcement. Just
all right,
just sharing with you.
Sharing.
The announcement will come later on.
Inshallah, Prof. Thank you very much, Prof, again for being our guest speaker for today. And on behalf of Islamic Review Knowledge and Human Sciences Student Society, we will continue to strive to bridge both discipline under this beloved Kuliyyah, and we will play our role as the Kuliyyah-based society of KIRKHS or ASKIH after this in striving towards relevantization as well as the Islamization of human knowledge, inshallah. With that, I will pass it back to the Master of Ceremony.
Right. Thank you, Prof. Kamal Hassan and Brother Anas Hayyan for the extremely fruitful discussion. Since Sister Amira Yasmin is having technical difficulties, I will be the backup Master of Ceremony. All right, I believe all of us have gained a lot from today's lecture on the bridging of Islamic revealed knowledge and human sciences. May Allah bless us today for our gathering right now. All right, before we end our event, let us have a photography session. To all participants, you may turn on your camera. And Sister Auni Zarifa, if you are ready, you may count to 3 and take screenshots of our session.
Everyone get ready. Sorry, I cannot open my camera because I have problem with it.
I can't open your camera.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Kamal.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Prof. Shukran.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Your participation is highly appreciated. We from KIRKHS would like to convey our utmost gratitude to Prof. Dr. Kamal Hassan for spending this time with us today to enlighten us on the formation of KIRKHS. Once again, we thank our sponsor, Anila Group, for the Zoom Premium platform and IUM Today for the media coverage. Apart from that, I would like to remind everyone to always keep up with our updates on iMaklum, the official Ta'aruf Week Telegram channel, the KIRKHS official Telegram channel, the IRKHSSS social media, and that's about it for our channels. So let us do the best that we can in this year-long pandemic to stay connected with each other, and with the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may we gain a lot more from our year today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this event. On behalf of the organizing committees, I would like to express our appreciation to all the distinguished guests for making this Grand Intellectual Symposium a success. Our apologies for any shortcomings that occurred during the event, and we hope everyone will stay safe wherever you are. Inshallah, we'll see you when the situation permits in the Kuliyyah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences. With that, wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.